largest companies in North America that provides all these types of things, and I have a lot of these kinds of things sitting in front of me here. And I also do a very large corporate apparel business and t-shirt business, things like that, as well as a full line of business printing services. So anything from business cards to banners to carbonless forms or window clings even. But getting back to Proforma, this presentation today is over branding, and so that's what I want to focus on. And branding is something that's very near and dear to my heart. Prior to purchasing this company, I was the marketing manager for a company called Cellular South, which is now C Spire, and they are the largest privately held wireless carrier in the country. And when we opened up Cellular South in this market back in 2000, it was with zero recognition. No one knew who Cellular South was. They only knew the AT&Ts of the world, or Singulars, or whatever you want to call them these days. And so I was tasked with coming in as the lead person in advance of even the network even being operational, and came in and joined all the chambers and met all the right people and tried to situate Cellular South in a light that was positive and one that we could move forward with. We spent a lot of money letting people know who we were and branding the company. The Cellular South logo, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen, and now you see the C Spire logo, and that's rare when you see a company that's completely changed its name like that. But they have done a good job of doing that. And just a little private information for you. The reason they changed from Cellular South to C Spire was it was always a concern from day one that because South was in their name, that people had the misconception that they only serviced a regional area, only in the South. And so that was a constant battle, and they finally pulled the trigger on that after about 10 years to go ahead and change that name. But getting back to Proforma, branding, I guess I'll start with a logo, because that's, when you think of branding, you think of logos, and you think of a little symbol or something that's clear and simple that you want people to remember you by, and something that you put on everything that you can. My logo, for example, and I'm wearing a shirt with it here, and I've got it on my business card, and I've got it on all of these items here. Branding your logo is so important. It's paramount when you're trying to do business, because you've got to get that name out there. You've got to get that recognition. You've got to get it out there in a positive light, aligned with all the right people, all the right organizations. And if you don't, then people start looking at that logo and they'll associate that logo with something negative in their mind, and that's the last thing you want. You always want a positive connotation when people are looking at your logo. You want them to see it, remember it, and think positive thoughts when they see it. And so in order to achieve that, you've got to be consistent. You've got to have a logo that's clear and simple. You got to have one that when you reproduce it properly. You don't just scan a copy of something and then throw it in an ad or something like that, or do a faulty file of it and put it on something. It's got to always, 100% of the time, be clear and crisp, vibrant. That's the only way that you should be putting that logo out there, because if you're not going to do those things, you're better off not putting it out there. Because if you put it out there with less than 100% quality, then you're putting it out there for people to think bad about it, for lack of a better word for it. Because if it's not perfect, then people are going to see those flaws and start associating those flaws in your logo or your brand with your service and what you do. So you always want to make sure that you keep a good, consistent logo out there in 100% professional manner. When people think about you, or when you go to see somebody, for example, the first thing you do usually is whip out your card and hand it to them. And I hope I don't embarrass anybody here, but always make sure your business card is a nice business card, because that's the very first thing you're going to give these people besides a smile, okay? And so when you hand them a business card, and it's not, and I don't know if you can see mine, everybody here, but it's a two-sided, it's a 14-point, very, very thick, nice business card. And when you see it and hold it, you think good things. You think, well, that's a nice card. And I can't tell you how many people will give me a card, and the first thing I think is, they need help. That's the first thing I think about them. And so when that's the first thing I think, it's going to be hard for me to change my mind about them, because I've already got a negative feeling about how they're producing their product. And how they're presenting their company. So that's, I mean, something as small as a business card can make all the difference in the world. And you know, when you think about these things, business cards are so inexpensive. You can get 1,000 of them for less than $50. Full color, two-sided. So if you're paying more than that for something that's less than or equal to, then you need to call me or call somebody that can do this properly for you. When it comes to a logo, probably one of the things that you need to do is, you know, how do you wrap your arms around having a logo? You know, where do you start? First of all, you have to, you know, have one, or either design one, have a graphic designer or somebody that knows what they're doing design you a logo. Do it in vector format. Don't do it in any other, you know, Word program or anything like that, because you're not going to have a clear, crisp image that you can reproduce unless it's produced on an Illustrator program or something similar. Because you've got to, you know, take that logo and you've got to put it on different things. You have to blow it up. You have to move it around, and so you want to have something that's flexible and something that's, even if I have it on a business card or a 20-foot banner, I can blow that logo up and it won't lose any of its quality. Because I know you've all seen logos that have little dots in them. Those are JPEG pixelated images that the bigger you blow them up, the more you see those dots. And you don't want to present something like that. That's not how you want to put your brain forward. But anyway, you know, once you've got it designed, and it's not that expensive, you can pay $1,000 to have it designed, or you can pay $100. And so it's not that expensive to actually have one done. Once you do that, you probably need to get a logo digitized, and what that is a DST file, and that's how I'm able to put these on shirts. Because you have to have a digital logo that is an embroidery file that allows for your logo to be put on a cap or a shirt or a bag, you know, like this thing right here. I've got it there, you know, that's embroidered. Or on a hat. And keep in mind, when you're putting something on a piece of apparel, you want to keep it relatively simple. You don't want to, and this is getting back to the logo too, when you have a logo, you want to keep it simple enough to when you do embroider it, it's going to look good embroidered. If you got a bunch of stuff on there and you got all these little pieces in the logo, they're not going to sew out well, and it's not going to look good. So you want to keep that in mind. Even if you have a logo that's, you know, complex, you might want to somehow simplify it when you're putting it on a shirt or a cap, because you want to make sure that it's a short and simple message that they're saying, that something that they'll remember. Logo digitization, excuse me, usually runs about $50 to $100 depending on how many stitches is going to be in your logo, and that's a very inexpensive cost when it comes to what you're doing. So that's a one-time cost. Once you have a DST file created, it's yours. You have it. You can put it on whatever you want. And so, you know, for $100 or whatever it may be, you've got something that you can, like, if you decide you want to have some shirts for your golf outing, or you want to have some caps or whatever, you can go do that. And then also in the apparel line, T-shirts are often something that you'll see people's logo on, and that's another big part of my business. And when you've got a logo or a piece of art, you've got to set up the screen for it. You got to put it on your T-shirt, whether it's a full front or a left chest and a back. And then you know, quite often you'll see companies or events with logos all over the back of the shirt. And so you want to make sure when you're creating those things that you do it properly, that you screen print them properly, and that whoever's doing those things, that they know what they're doing. Because that's putting that word out there. And with T-shirts, you're usually mass producing those things. You're doing 72 or 200 or 300, 400, 500, sometimes 5,000. So you don't want all those impressions of your logo being out there unless it looks good. You don't want to align yourself, for example, and I'll just throw this out there. Let's say you've got a questionable business that does questionable things in the community. You don't want to have your logo sitting next to their logo on the back of the T-shirt. So always do your research and find out who's involved in something before you get yourself involved in it too. Because you want to make sure you're aligned with positive organizations, positive people, and therefore in a positive light. Again, getting back to how you're reproducing things, when you're doing any sort of printing, and Sherry, I'll take a moment to commend you on this. This is a nice piece of work that you created.
Actually, one of our interns.
Really? Well, it looks great. It looks very professional, and you've got your logo front and center here. Yes. And it's not black and white. It's full color, and it looks good. You paid me a little bit of money to get these done for you, but I can't tell you how many times I'll see things that people reproduce because they're going to pass out some literature for a meeting, and they'll tell me, well, I'll just print these on my copier at work, or I'll just do this. And they'll stick this on the little glass thing, and they'll hit print on there, and it just doesn't look like this when you do that. Or if you scan a copy or scan a logo, or you scan this cover page, it doesn't look good. So when you do something, put it on some glossy paper. Glossy paper is typically about the same price as regular paper. People don't realize that. And color copies these days are very inexpensive. It's nothing like it used to be. So never ever do anything in black and white.
Churches are typically known for that.
I'm sorry?
Churches.
Yeah.
Just throwing something on a copier,
right.
Even the large churches. So that seems like that's a great market for you,
right.
And small businesses as well, because your prices are great.
And people don't realize, Sherry, that when you're printing, let's say you print 100 copies on your copying machine at work, you're burning up more ink than what it would cost to have it filled.
Right.
And
I went and bought ink. I went and bought $60 worth of ink and tried copying it, and it was horrible.
Yeah. So you've got an inferior product. You're paying more for it, and you're having the hassle with all that freaking ink
and the paper.
Yeah. So you don't want to do that. Trust me. And especially when you're talking about high quantities, you definitely want to have these things professionally printed. Going back to companies that you can align yourself with, something we used to do with Say Yourself all the time, and I'll just name a few that we were involved with. One of the first things I did was I went out and met with the Redbirds, and met with Allie Prescott, and developed a official wireless partner of the Redbirds. We had a big sign out in the outfield. It was like Jonas Gord. It was the biggest sign there. Everybody knew we were in town. And we were aligned with a nonprofit organization, baseball, hot dogs, take me out to the ball game, families. That's exactly what we wanted to do. Kind of expensive, but we traded a lot of it with our phone service. And so, we were able to make it a win-win situation for both parties. And that's what you want to do when you're creating these partnerships with people. Make it a win-win so it'll be a long-term thing. Don't try to negotiate this thing down to where they're giving it to you. They're unhappy, so they're not going to, put their all behind it. And then you kind of walk away feeling like, well, you kind of stole that, but it won't last because you stole it. So always do something that's fair, that's beneficial to both parties. That way it can become a true partnership and it'll be long-term. Memphis Tigers, that was another thing. That was one of the first things I did. I'm a Tiger fan. People are passionate about the Tigers, Tiger basketball. Man, people are nuts on it. And so I knew that I wanted to align our brand with that passion. and with all those people that fill out FedEx form, and with all those people that watch it on TV and listen to it on the radio. So it gives you so many opportunities to be with something passionate, something that people feel passionate about, and therefore that's most likely going to, go into the wireless business, like when I was talking about Sayre South, and I keep wanting to say Oklahoma. But anyway, those kind of things, those kind of organizations, switching gears, you always want to align yourself with a nonprofit of some sort, if possible, because it shows that you're giving back to the community when you do that. It shows that you're not just coming in here trying to take everybody's money. You're coming in here doing business, but at the same time that you're making money, you're giving back to the community. So if you can align with somebody that's involved with St. Jude, or Redbirds was a nonprofit at the time. And so
we do things with Girls Inc. and EMI missions, and you're absolutely right.
Because that's a responsibility, and there's so many to choose from, and there's so many organizations out there that need money and that need the business community to help. And so always make sure that you can align yourself with some kind of nonprofit, if at all possible. Let's see. But again, I'll go through some of these things real quick to give you some ideas. Like at Chris.
One other thing, Bruce, if you could break down for a brand new business or a business that's wanting to update their look. So basically, they're starting from scratch. What is like a 1, 2, 3 process that you would go through, and what type of costs would be involved?
Okay. Well, I would first. They would probably call you.
Right.
You would suggest that they call me.
Right.
So let's just pretend they call me, and then first thing I would do is I would try to set up a meeting with them, so I can ask some questions to find out who they are, and what they're about, and kind of what their budget is, what they're trying to achieve. And then once I have all that information, then I can make a suggestion as here's what I would do.
Right.
Typically, all things being equal, I would say, okay, let me see your logo. And then I would take a look at it, and I would give them an honest assessment of what I think of their logo, because that's one thing about me. I'll always be honest, because I have to be. But if it's not a good logo, I will tell them, this is probably not what you need, but how long have you been in business? Because if you've been in business a long time, you probably don't want to mess with that logo too much, because that's how people know you. So we kind of see what we can do to improve that, whether it's starting from scratch, or whether it's just revising it, or whether it's just redrawing it in vector format where you've got a good, clear, crisp image. Once you have that, you probably ought to think about a tagline, something that you can put behind your logo when you're talking about it, something you can print below it, something that's short and sweet and kind of says what you do. My tagline is Pro Forma South Print, one source, infinite resources. You can come to me, I can do infinite things for you. And so that's one thing that you'll see consistently. Pro Forma, one source, infinite resources. I got it right here on this hat, below that. Got it on my business card, of course. And there's different ways that you can do that, but you want to get your name out there. You can do it in ways that, some things people think, well, I don't have the money to advertise or to go on TV or to put an ad in the newspaper. You can do things that you're always going to do, like send Christmas cards to people. Christmas cards are not that expensive, so when you do it with your company, and that way you can brand your company as well as send a greeting to your family, friends, and business partners. But that's something that you can do in a great way that is kind of a soft sell, so to speak, because you're not really selling them your product, but you're putting your logo on there, and you're doing it in a nice seasonal kind of.
What type of cost is involved to order cards through you like that?
Not much. They're probably, and I'll just ballpark it, but you're probably looking at about, for 250 cards, you're probably looking at a couple $100.
Okay.
But
that's for the envelope.
Yeah, that's
nice card.
Yeah, and these are nice, the kind that you see that have the, you know, the nice gold
Oh, yeah. Why don't we
trim
pass
on
those
them and
around?
things like that. You know, these aren't anything that's not first rate. So,
Why don't we pass that around the room? So
Sure.
people can see?
promotional items are something that people think of. You'll often hear it referred to as swag or goodie bag stuff or junk. You know, there's all sorts of little terms for that. But people do it because these are little instruments that you can produce, that you can put in a goodie bag at a golf tournament. You can put them in a little thing and give them out at Chamber of Commerce meetings. You can hand them out to your clients when you go in doing a cold call. You can hand them a pen or whatever, just as a nice little gesture of trying to earn their business. And so that's what I always do. I'll walk in and now these are my plastic pens. I have two kinds of pens, metal pens and plastic pens. But what I do is, if I've got a metal pen, I'll always use that when I'm going after a new client or a good client that's current. If not, then I'll give them a couple, 2 or 3 of these. This is my spring collection. They're all different colors, but my logo is consistent on all of them. You notice it's white with my name, phone number, and web address on it. And so I don't deviate from the logo itself there. I didn't use a color logo on here because these are all different color pens, so I wanted the logo to be consistent, so I just had it all white. But yeah, you can take a look at these. These are great pens, by the way. These are Javelina pens. This is a very popular pen, probably the most widely sold promotional pen in the country.
We don't get to keep them?
No, you keep them.
Oh, okay. Let's take a look at
But
them.
they write good, and they cost about 40 cents a piece. So the cost is minimal. And when you give somebody a good pen, trust me, they'll keep it and they'll use it. And that's, that sounds so minor, but I have people call me up saying, you know that metal pen you gave me, it just ran out of ink, and I had it for years. It's my favorite pen ever. And I'll have to go back and drive over to them and take them another one of those
Really?
pens. So
And
people
you do that type of thing, customer service.
Of course I do.
You've come up here twice,
Yeah.
all the way from Hernando,
Yeah.
right? Without me even asking, and hand delivered things
Right.
and no extra cost, which
Right.
that means so much when you're working with someone.
Well, one of the things, Sherry, that I want to always do is wow my customer.
Well, you've done that with me.
Well, it works.
Yes,
doesn't
it does. It does. It
Because
builds
you-
relationships.
Yes,
Yeah.
because if you, and I don't like to under promise and over deliver. I just like to over deliver across the board. Because if you do that, people will notice it. There's a lot of people that sell promotional items and all this kind of stuff. There's a lot of people that do that. And if you don't set yourself apart somehow, then you're just going to get lost in the shuffle. And one of the things that separates me is customer service, timeliness, and price. And those are 3 things that I will always admit to you that I don't like to get beat out on any of those things. And so I will always take these things and use them to my advantage whenever possible. Something like this is something that schools do a lot of, and schools will put their school logo on here. But one thing I'll never suggest is don't do anything cheap. There's inexpensive items you can get, like a tee, for your golf outings or goodie bags or a tee marker, things like this. These things literally cost next to nothing. Business card magnets are like 20 cents a piece, and those, if you put things on there that are not just your logo, for example, a magnet. I have my logo, which is, of course, I want on there. But if I put a football schedule of all the SEC teams or something like that, that's something that people can use, keep it up on the refrigerator, but therefore, every time they walk by, they see my logo. So, there's ways to make sure people keep the stuff that you give them. This is a speaker system that I did for a company, but the wire just comes out of here like that, and you plug it into your laptop, and you've got speakers. But this is a neat little item. The minimum on these is not that much, because these cost a little more. You probably have to pay $10 for these. But if you got a client that's spending, I don't know, $10,000 with you or $50,000 with you or whatever they're spending, you know, giving them a little $10 item with something is not to be unheard of. So that's something I would highly suggest that you consider when you're doing these kind of things. Because you also want to give back to your client. You want to earn new clients, you want to earn your brand, but you also want to be able to give back to the clients that are spending money with you. Another example of an upscale item would be this Pilsner glass. This is something I do for golf tournaments. And it's got a little golf ball here. And the nicer golf tournaments do things like this. They'll do things like that, and they'll give them that and a cap, a golf shirt maybe, something like that. And these are the kind of things that will typically be involved in a little bit nicer event. On the printing side, this is something that's new that I'm doing. It's a plastic mailer card. If you want to pass that around. That's a way to set yourself apart on a business mailer. Because so many times you'll get these things in the mail, and they're just your standard 8.5 by 5.5 mailer, and there's 5 of them in your mailbox. And, you know, what do you do? You toss them.
It appeals to the senses.
Right. And you toss them. But this sets you apart. People are more apt to pull that aside, read it, and then probably even set it aside to keep rather than throw it away immediately, because it's just got this feel that it's nicer.
Yeah.
And so that's something, you know, those cost a little bit more than a mailer card of your average mailer, but you're probably going to have a better return when you spend a little bit more like that. But basically, that's it as far as what I want to talk about with branding. And again, just to recap, I can't stress enough the importance of having a brand that's a good quality brand, something that's consistent, something that you never deviate from, and something that you always only put out there when you're doing it with positive people, positive company, and doing it in a positive light. And if you do that and you follow it up with customer service and the right price, you're probably going to be able to do well and keep the customers you have and grow. With that, I'm going to stop.
Well, that was excellent. Why don't we open up for questions?
Okay.
And maybe you can go up here to answer them, because people live need to see who was doing all the talking.
Okay.
Okay, so
Where do you want me
we're
to stand?
actually advertising live. That's fine right there.
Okay.
We are on the web live internationally right now, and we also have our, if you can see, I'm just going to let you guys know, and I'll talk a little more about this later, but this is anymeeting.com. It's free. You can have up to 200 people attend it and do screen share. So we have this going as well. So we're opening up now for questions for Bruce or Pet about your business and what he can do for you.
I had one technical question. What's vector formatting?
Vector is artwork is created in such a way, it's typically created on an Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop or something like that. Something like it prints really clear, and let me show you Sharon's thing here. A lot of this was created vector, and you can tell because it's crystal clear. How many times have you seen somebody's brochure and it just looks a little fuzzy, or it just doesn't pop? That was probably not created with vector format, and it was probably created on Microsoft Word or something like that. Those things do not print well.
So
They don't reproduce well.
is Vector a software program?
Vector is a term for artwork that's created in a program like I spoke about that is able to be enlarged without losing any resolution, and it's able to keep all the color and clarity that it had when it was produced.
Okay.
And I can't tell you how long I battle with people about this, because your average person doesn't know what vector is or doesn't know how to get vector art. Sometimes you'll hear it referred to as an EPS file, and you probably tried to open up an EPS file before and it says no program associated with it. Because if you don't have an Illustrator program on your computer or something like that, you're probably not going to be able to open it. So when I send proofs to people, I'll send the EPS file, but I'll also attach a JPEG or a PDF because your average person can view those. But you don't typically want to print from those unless it's a print-ready PDF, which is created from a vector file.
Right.
So, and I hope I didn't confuse you there. Keep that in mind when you're doing anything for your company. Think vector art, because that's going to give you a good project.
Any further questions?
Good.
All right.
Thanks.
Well, I'll be getting with you on the flyer.
Okay.
In fact, I want to pass that around, but I'll do that a little bit later. But the one that we have coming up. And then I gave you a referral this week as well. Hopefully that'll come through. So we've got some things going here with your
Give me a couple referrals.
Yes, yes, you're welcome. Thank you so much,
Okay,
Ruth.
thank you.
Appreciate you being
Thanks for
here.
listening. I hope I didn't ramble too long, but it's just a lot to
No.
talk about.
Not at all. And I love your products. In fact, here's the type of person that Bruce is. Bruce comes and meets with me and decides that, yes, I want to be a part of Business Over Coffee. And when he joins, he joins. And he doesn't just join and then never show up again. He gets active, which we appreciate because you add a lot and we want to give a lot back to you and your business. But what he does is after meeting with me, he says, you need to get some coffee grounds. So he sends me this email with like 20 different products, which was fabulous because I saved it. I saved it to my folder. When I get ready to order coffee grounds or coffee cups or things like that, I'll go to that folder and say, oh, I need to check that out, call Bruce, because now I have it, even though I don't really have it in my budget right now. There's other things that are higher priority. Hi, Maya, one of our newest members. Welcome. I still will at some point want to have those things. So that was being proactive, and that's the type of customer service that you get from Bruce, and it's also something we can learn as business owners about being proactive as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. I appreciate it.
All right, Steve, you go right ahead and introduce our next guest.
Okay. Our next guest is going to be Jerome Robinson from justmy.com, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And Jerome is going to speak on digital magazine, digital media, okay? And one thing before Jerome comes up, kind of to second what Sherry has said, Business Over Coffee and these collaboration efforts are, we're a group, we're learning about each other and each other's business, and I strongly encourage each of you to find out more about a fellow member's business. Have some sit down one-on-one time over coffee or something. It's a great opportunity for me to learn about you and vice versa. I personally have become a customer of a couple of different BOC members and the business that they're in right now. I know Sherry has with a number of them.
Yeah.
But BOC members oftentimes will offer discounts or something of that nature to fellow BOC members, so take advantage of it. And it's just, this whole thing is about bringing everyone together and doing business with one another, because you develop that trust in people that you know and you see, and just like the service that you've provided for Sherry, she trusts you, she's going to refer you to every BOC member there is, and that's what we're all about here. So I want to strongly encourage everybody to, put your hand out, meet somebody, shake their hand, talk to them, learn about their business, and give them a shot, send referrals and that kind of thing, okay? All right, with that
Absolutely.
being said, Jerome.
Yes, Jerome is awesome. You'll find that out on your own. All the things that he can provide for you. I pulled up a screen there for you.
Okay.
If you want to have a seat.
Thank you.
This is where you would change your screens, and this is the actual room.
Okay.
Okay?
Very good. Wow. Nice image of my belly on screen there for a second. Yeah, that's what
Very well
that's
done.
one thing. So how's everybody doing today?
Good.
I enjoyed your presentation, Mr. Proformer.
Thank you.
He had some really great items there. We're gonna call you. We need some hats and t-shirts and
Okay,
things
awesome.
like that for Just My Memphis.
Okay.
As Sherry said, I'm here to talk about digital magazines. And for anybody that's on a computer or on the internet at this moment, so that you'll have a better idea as to what I'm talking about, let's go to my profile, which is my personal profile, which is at justmy.com. And I'm going to put it up here on the screen. And /me. It's my company, so it was easy to get me instead of my whole name there. But I'm going to pull that up. And I can get this out of the way.
Yeah, I think we should turn the lights off.
And the internet's a little slow here, so this may take just a second. So I'm not going to show any videos or anything. But check out our new commercial spot by going to our Facebook. By the way, it's Facebook /Just My Memphis. But let's talk about the magazines.
Wait, I've got to mention something. You sent out an email, and I saw both. They were fabulous. And you said, the second one's for those people over 40. I said, what's that about those people over 40?
Well, that's
You're stepping on my toes now.
Don't say funny story. I'll tell you guys a little bit about that in a few minutes. But we're gonna from my profile, you can see the digital documents, and these are what e-magazines are. We've got several samples there. If you go to my personal profile, which is justmy.com /me, not only will you see the covers of the magazines, but you can click on any of them to open them up. But this will kind of give you an idea as to what digital magazines are and how they can be used. And I'll let it load for a second. The very first one, on this top row, amazingly, you see two competitors. There's American Tuxedo, which is a local tuxedo shop. American Tuxedo only has 2 stores. But his catalog has more than 144 pages. Here's what's significant about that. If he tried to print a catalog with 144 pages and give it out to every groom that was getting married, every prom person that was going to a prom, it would cost him a huge amount of money. By using a digital magazine, now he can put every tuxedo that he has in high definition view in a page flipping format, so that he can share that constantly. Because of that, this year, for his prom season, he's getting to do a lot of things that he normally wouldn't do. For example, I think we have someone trying to come in.
Yeah,
Come on in.
Got a chair for us.
Come on in, Sue. We've got one for you right here by me. So good to see you.
So who just joined us?
Jeannie Blue with the Greater Memphis Chamber.
Hello, Mrs. Blue. Oh, wow, you've called my office before.
Yes, she's fabulous.
I've called everybody.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, you're
Everybody.
fine.
You're fine.
Welcome, Miss Blue. But as what we were talking about was, for example, on the American Tuxedo, now he gets to run he's running a prom contest, for example, right now, where guys can go on, pick their tuxedo out. They're going to submit the tuxedo that they want with their image. We're going to put that on Facebook, and they're having a Mr. Prom 2012 contest. Well, he can only do that because he's not spending all of his money on printing things. Now they get to go to his full catalog. They see the stock number and everything. So before they come in the store, they know exactly what they want. So we're running some radio ads, some commercial spots and everything to do that. Next to it, you'll see a college funding brochure. Again, this is a financial institution that's just pitching people on, here's what we do for college funding. A digital magazine can be anything from a simple 8-page magazine to a catalog. Let's scroll through some of the ones we see here besides the ones at the top. On the next row there, you'll see Nobles and Olson. This is a construction company. They walk you through some of the construction jobs they've done. You see a Rick's International, which is a business consultant. Jay Sparks, which is a radio DJ on Q107. His is what's called a fan book. So you get to go behind the scenes. Where do you go to school? What's his hobbies? That sort of thing. So with digital magazines, you can do anything that you can do in the print world, except for now, it costs a whole lot less to do it. For example, sitting right next to me is a very talented lady that makes custom jewelry. She makes all of her own jewelry, and
Show it.
before, do you mind me saying that you're on a budget?
No, that's fine, because it's the truth.
Oh, okay, I just said so. Well,
Yes, yeah.
so it used to be that if she wanted something nice like a page flipping catalog, that just would have been out of the question, because once you would have to hire photographers, she's got to create the inventory, write the scripting, and then have a magazine laid out and then have it printed. Today, she can say, Jerome, here's 12 pictures of my work, here's the descriptions, here's my logo, and within a day, she's got a magazine that she can now share on Facebook, share on Twitter, share on her own personal profile. And the amazing thing about digital is she's a part of Business Over Coffee here. Business Over Coffee posts her magazine on its blogs, its social networks. Well, all of a sudden, that digital magazine is now getting traction. It's being basically handed out and shared without any additional expense to her. She gets really lucky if someone posts it to their Facebook and they've got lots of followers. Or she finds one of those groups of women that likes talking about jewelry and everything. But that's the power of using a digital magazine. Some of the things that you can use it for. If you're an office complex like this, you may say, let me put my floor plans on there. Let me put my rate charts on there. Let me put my rental agreements. Any of those things that a person needs to know about a facility like this, you may want to put there. You are New York Life, for example. One of the things that I've noticed is when you go to a franchise type operation, you go to their website, and their website's very corporate, and it's that big corporate world. But we buy from individuals. For example, when we all love Business Over Coffee because now we identify that with sharing. Well, corporations have this thing, well, we know what's best, we know what looks good, but people still want to deal with individuals directly. But one of the things I've noticed is if you walk into a franchise, you see all of these nice brochures. I mean, really nice, professionally laid out brochures, but you don't see those things on the web. And a lot of times those brochures jump right to the point. If I'm looking for a t-shirt, I don't care about ink pens and brochures. I don't want to see what Proforma does when it comes to t-shirts. So now you can have a brochure just about t-shirts.
Right.
They come in these colors, they come in these styles, they start at these prices, and he can stick that out on the web. It still carries his same professional logo. We don't have to design it for you. You can send the files to us already laid out. We just digitize it and put it on the platform. So that's kind of an overview. If you're a restaurant, put your menus, digitize your menus, put a QR code on your front door so that when somebody walks in the door, instead of waiting for the wait, they scan your QR code and they're flipping through your menu right then and there. In this age, there's no excuse for waiting or saying, let me mail you something, when you can digitize it and send it that way. So again, let's go back to the New York Life guy. You've got all these different packages, right?
Absolutely.
So now he gets a profile. He says, this is who I am. He makes sure that it goes through compliance so that his corporation is happy. But it's got his picture, his bio. So this is who he is. But then again, his corporation wants to make sure he's selling things. So we take those documents that they've already done, digitize them, and put it into his profile. So
And they can be downloaded as PDFs,
they
right?
can, right.
Yes.
And I'll go ahead and open up one of these. So it takes a little while in here. Let's run through before we jump there. Some other examples. Here's a local chiropractor that put one together. The Tigers, their baseball book is there. Photographer video company out of Ohio. These are some sample menus here. For example, you see the Onyx, which is a restaurant downtown. Really cool, laid-back restaurant. In this case, we took all the pictures and everything for them. They had their logo, so we didn't change their look and feel. We just complemented it. You see a local caterer there, two local caterers. It would kill me if I said they were the same. And and then here's some of the magazines that we've produced. Just My Memphis is our magazine. That's the first one you'll see there. We really got into the magazine business with the city of Memphis. We put out their monthly city compliance magazine. Originally, this will tell you the power of a digital magazine. The city compliance magazine was originally a 4-page newsletter. It was just a newsletter with titles, paragraph, title, paragraph, title, paragraph.